Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Isabel and this is my library. In today's video, I will be sharing with you everything that I read in the month of August. August was insane, guys. I had to battle the blues of summer being almost over. I had to set up my classroom for coming back to work. I had so many meetings, so many lesson plans to prep for, and then school started. And August was really rough. I'm surprised I was even able to read a few things. I don't know how I was even able to do that because it was just so busy. It's been so busy this entire month, and now that I've kind of settled into my routine again, we're getting back into the routine of things. I think September will be a better reading month. And what I mean by better reading month is just the sheer amount of stuff that I get to read. August wasn't per se a bad month, as you'll see now when I share with you my stats. Um, but yeah, I'm just used to reading more. I'm used to being able to read a little bit more. And between work and prepping to get back to work and just being exhausted and just playing one too many video games and watching one too many movies or TV shows, I didn't read as much as I wanted to, but here we are. So I'm going to share with you everything that I read this month. I'll start with my stats for those of you who like stats. Let me go ahead and start us off with that. So during the month of August, I was able to read a total of 6 books. The page number count was 1,577 pages total. That was broken up into one graphic novel, 2 thrillers, 1 classic mystery, 1 horror novel, 1 manga. As far as the formats, I did read one of those as an ebook type. It was mostly reading a comic book digitally. I'll show you that in a minute. I read one of my books, half physical, half audio in tandem, and I read 2 of those books purely physical and 2 of the books purely on audiobook. And that pretty much is my 6 books that I was able to read this month. And for a minute, I started off the month wrapping up a few things. So I had already read, like 2 things, I think, at the beginning of the month. And then I just got super busy and it was taking me a week and a half to finish a book. And yeah, at least I was able to read 6 things. And I know that now that I'm back to school, I've gotten back to the hang of things. I think I'll be able to get back into my routine of reading a little bit more. So, as I do each and every single month, I will start off with what I enjoyed the least, and then I'll go ahead and work all the way up to what I enjoyed the most this month. So, starting us off, unfortunately, is a 1 star book. So my 1 star read for this month was Man F This House by Brian Asman. And it should be an indication that it took me a minute to finish this. If you guys remember, or if you follow my channel or whatnot, I had started reading this July because I wanted to read it for Summerween. This was a part of my Summerween stack. It's also one of the books that I want to read, 24 and 24, something like that, that has carried over. So this book has been sitting on my shelves for a really long time, and I've been trying to make room for it. Finally, I put it on my list of books I have to read by the end of the year, and then I actually put it on my TBR for Summerween. And that was July, and I didn't get to finish it till August because it wasn't great. It wasn't my favorite. I kept putting it off. Unfortunately, I don't think it helped that this I couldn't find an audiobook for this because I was struggling in the middle of it and I was just, not feeling like I could finish it. And so I looked up to see if there was an audiobook that I could just pop on to try to finish it. There isn't an audiobook. I couldn't find one. So that's why it took me so over a month to kind of finish this. And I'll give you the premise of it. So this is a haunted house story pretty much. And in it, we are following a family, and the family has just moved into this home. It's the mom, the dad, and the 2 children. And at first, when we start to get to know the family, the dynamics are a little bit off in the family. We know the mom doesn't have the best relationship with her kids, in particular her son. It all stems from the fact that her son was a twin in the womb, and he ate his brother in the womb, and then she only had one child, and she names him Damien, and she views him as like this demon child. And the funny thing is that the child like plays this role, like he feels like the mom views him this way, so he does everything he can to like spook her and scare her into thinking that that he's really like a demon child. So it's very weird family dynamics. They move into the house, and clearly the house has something going on. I can't really pinpoint, guys, like what I disliked about this book or why I was just not having it. Toward the end of the book, I had to force myself to finish the book. So that's never a good sign. I found that it was so it didn't know what it wanted to be. If it wanted to be just commentary on family dynamics, if it was, if it's truly trying to be a horror story, then I think it should have gone another route. It got very, very strange toward the ending, and it didn't do anything horribly wrong. Like, I'm probably being very harsh with my 1 star rating, but I shouldn't have to push this hard to read a book in my favorite genre. You know what I mean? Like, if you are a horror book and you're a haunted house book, like, the battle is halfway won for me. Like, I love those things. So how do you go so wrong? And I can't precisely pinpoint it. The writing is not great, but it's not terrible. There was nothing offensive about what happened here. I didn't enjoy it. I did not enjoy my time with this. I think also what bothers me is that the title is kind of gimmicky. Like, it's sending off these vibes, right? When you see a book called Man F This House, it's sending a certain vibe, right? That's not the vibe that the book follows through with. So I think if you're going to have a more serious kind of book, this shouldn't be the title. So I already went in expecting something and got something else in return. So yeah, unfortunately, this wasn't for me. I'd love to hear if you've read this and you enjoyed it because, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but it just was not the book for me. So this was Man of This House, and I gave it a 1 star. Now that we got that out of the way, everything else was pretty good. It was pretty decent. So we're moving on to 3.5 star territory. So that's not bad at all. And the next book on my list with a 3.5 star is 1 2 Buckle My Shoe by Agatha Christie. This has also been published under other names before: The Patriotic Murders or An Overdose of Death. I remember that Overdose of Death. I think I recall that's the version my mom read when I was little. I remember her having that one. So I know that the names have changed throughout. Now we stick to that nursery rhyme 1 2 Buckle My Shoe. So again, although this is a 3.5 star rating, I'm a little disappointed just because it's an Agatha Christie and it's a Hercule Poirot Agatha Christie, which are my favorites. So I didn't love the fact that this was not an all-time favorite or one of my favorites. So whenever I get to as you guys know, I'm doing my Agatha Christie challenge, and first of all, I'm so proud of myself for finally getting to my Christie this month. I hope I can continue that for the rest of the year. But yeah, I was just a little bit let down because I love Hercule Poirot. Christie's are my favorites, and this one was just okay. So in this, we are following Poirot, who goes to the dentist because he has a toothache, and then in the dentist's office, he sees a weird, odd looking man. He just, it calls his attention, but nonetheless, he forgets the man is there. He goes, has his procedure done with the doctor. He checks him up, blah blah blah. There's a lot of conversation here also about going to the dentist, so how much everyone hates going to the dentist, and so I thought that was pretty funny. And so he by the time he gets home, he's contacted because the dentist has been found dead in his office, right? Just the same day that Poirot was there. So obviously this starts an investigation, and yeah, that's pretty much the premise of this. Now, There's a lot of moving parts with this one, and that's, I think, what I maybe did not like as much. There were a lot of political and like patriotic and like those kinds of things going on. Those tend to not be my favorite Christies. For example, I don't love the ones where we have a lot of traveling abroad, like the adventure Christies are not my favorite. I also don't like the those patriotic ones where we have like a spy or people working for like a group of, whatever. Like those are not my favorite. I just love like a little home, a murder that happens in a little house, and it's a family drama we have to figure out, and it's, that kind of a thing. I don't like when the plot extends to like bigger things at play, right? Like that's not my favorite. So I think maybe that's what did it for me. I was enjoying it throughout. I thought it was going to be a solid 4 star, but then once we got to the ending, I felt like the ending got too messy for me. Too many parts in the ending. And normally I love the way that Agatha Christie makes all of her endings so smooth. And even if the middle of the book is a little bit confusing, I find that through her explanations, especially in a Poirot, they kind of like all make sense at the end and everything is so smoothly done. This one still felt like a little bit cumbersome. It felt like it was overly complicated for no reason. I did look online, other people's reviews or opinions, and a lot of them felt the same way. Some people talked about plot holes and stuff like that in this one. I didn't look too much into it. Some people were talking about that online, that it was an overly complex ending for no reason. So that just was the reason I knocked it down half a star, and it was a 3.5 instead of a 4. But still glad I read it. Still enjoy spending time with Poirot and investigations and all of that. And I'm just glad I got to read my Christie this month. The third book that I'm going to tell you about also comes in at a 3.5 stars, and that is Tell Me What You Did by Carter Wilson. So I've been meaning to get to this one for a while. I first picked this one up because it was one of the book troop picks for earlier on this year. I don't remember the month right now. I'm a little bit behind. But I did pick it up because they tend to be books that I'm already interested in or that they're in my radar. So that's why I picked this one up. And I finally was able to get to it this month. And I believe this is the first or second thing I finished this month. And Tell Me What You Did, we are following this woman who has a podcast, and her podcast elicits callers from around the world who would like to confess to something on her podcast. And they can confess to a crime or something terrible that they've done. And then that's why it's called Tell Me What You Did, because that's how she opens up her show. Once they get a participant, that's one of the first things that she says, Tell me what you did. And then the person will start confessing their crime, right? And they know that there's a risk to doing that. If someone recognizes their voice or, whatever. Once we start off with this, it's a very interesting premise. I like anything that has to do with some sort of podcast element. I'm still not over that. I still like it. I know some people feel that's been played out, but I still enjoy books that include that element. Basically, once she has the next guest over, he says that what he did is that he murdered her mother. And so immediately, like, this like freaks her out, and she knows that this isn't possible simply because she has killed the person that murdered her mother. And so that's the premise of this book. I found that the premise was so interesting. I love the dynamics with the caller. I loved her trying to investigate how is this possible that this person is telling me that they killed my mother when, I did that. I got rid of that person or whatnot. So I really enjoyed the entire book. My whole thing with this was that the ending felt like just so boring to me. I like my thrillers to have a plot twist of some sort, or at least a little interesting twist somewhere along the line, but this just didn't have any of that. It was very like flat, if you will. And so I didn't think it was a big deal. It was well written, the premise is interesting, but it just didn't do anything different. And this is one of those, I think this is like just a victim of me having read like a lot of thrillers. You know what I mean? I'm sure anyone else who hasn't read a lot of thrillers will love this, can give it 5 stars. It's a really good read, and I do recommend it to anyone who enjoys podcasts, who's not thrillered out, or who has not read a lot of thrillers. For me, it's just I expect my thrillers. I love thrillers, right? It's horror and thriller are my favorite things to read, and I just expect for them to have like a little extra something, like a little twist, something that makes me say, I didn't see that coming. So, what ended up happening throughout the whole book is that I was waiting and making all these assumptions. Oh my gosh, what if the book goes here? And oh wow, like it would be interesting if it did this, and it did none of it. It was just like flat. I was like, okay, so yeah, that's the whole thing, and it is pretty lengthy, but it is a fast read. I feel I don't think it, although it's a pretty long book, I feel like I got through it pretty quickly. I did listen to this on audio for the most part. I think this was one of my full audio reads, and I think it's a great format if you're going to, if you like audiobooks and you're trying to read this or you want to read this. The audiobook is really good because it adds that whole podcast element to it really well. And yeah, it was just 3.5 stars. It would have been a 4 star had the ending done something extra for me, but it just kind of fell a little flat for me. But still, pretty good read. Now we're moving on to our 4 star territory. So, my next book that I read this month that I gave 4 stars to was Danganronpa, the animation volume 2. And this manga got a solid 4 stars. It was a great experience. As you guys know, if you watch my channel, I read volume 1 last month and absolutely loved it. It was my favorite thing I read in the month of July, and I did give it 5 stars. This one was good too. I think it's the middle, right? It's a middle book. So it was just, not as spectacular I thought as that initial, right? First opening, but it was still really good. It still follows everything from the game that I love so much. And again, it is a volume 2, so I'm not going to tell you too much about this. But in case you haven't heard me talk about Danganronpa, the animation, basically this manga, it's a survival horror manga where these students go to this private school, and the moment that they get there, the first day of school, they found that they are prisoners in the school, and the headmaster, who is this panda thing, um here he is, the headmaster, who's that panda looking thing, is forcing them to play a game, and it's a murder game, and they have to kill each other and not get caught in order to win the game. And that's basically what is happening. And so in volume 2, we're just continuing with the games, and things keep getting wilder, and more of the characters are gone now, and we're getting closer to figuring out what the headmaster's big plan is. And it was enjoyable. It was so much fun, and I can't wait to finish reading the series. My second to last read, also coming in at 4 stars, was The Family Experiment by John Mars. And you guys may already know, if you follow my channel, that this is a buddy read that I did with Jackie from Reading Wordsmith. And she and I decided to read this thriller together this month, and we opened it up to a bunch of our subscribers, a bunch of our friends to read along with us. And there are quite a few people who have read along. We did do 2 reading sprints to kind of get through the book. And this week, actually, as of the filming of this video, we will be having our live show to discuss The Family Experiment. And so as of me posting this video, I'm not really sure if you'll see that, if that already has happened. If not, I will, put the announcement up there. But if it already has happened, I'll make sure that I link it so that you get to see my full thoughts on The Family Experiment. But basically, let me just tell you the premise of this. As with many John Mars books, this is a dystopian, and it's a very techy, futuristic dystopian. So this kind of follows that same universe of The One and The Passengers and The Family Experiment. No, this is The Family Experiment. The Marriage Act, it's that whole same universe. And so basically, for this, we are following this TV show. It's a reality TV show that has several couples, I believe 4 couples, 5 couples, I'm not sure. Well, one isn't a couple, one is a single person, but 4 families who want to have children, but for some reason or another have not been able to have kids. or they've lost kids, or something has happened there where they want another child, right? So what happens is, in the family experiment, they are given like a child in this like metaverse kind of a thing. They're given a child that is fully like AI, right? And they engage with their child through, wearing this like, glasses and diving into that world, and they get to interact with them in that world. And then people from our world are watching the show, voting to see what families win the show. And ultimately, with the winning of the show, you have a choice. You either win the grand prize money to start a family of your own with a real child, so money to do your in vitro process or whatever it is that you need, or you relinquish, and to do that, obviously, and to get that money, you have to relinquish your digital child or your virtual child, and so um that's kind of where this goes. So there's a lot of like interesting conversations about AI and beings, how sentient are AI creations, and what encompasses or what makes up a family. And that's pretty much the premise of this. As with most of his books, I find that the characters are a little messy. Like, there's a lot of drama going on. The characters have like secrets and lies that they're hiding from their spouses, and it just becomes a little bit messy, but it was incredibly entertaining. I think this had a really cool twist at the end. It was so twisty at the end that I had to actually reread it, because I always tend to finish my books late at night. I think I push through at the ending of the night, and then the next morning I'm like, what happened again? And so I had to like reread it during the live sprints, actually, to finish and annotate a few things, because I felt that it was just so out there, like the twists that were happening. So I enjoyed that. I thought it was really good. I thought it was a great read. I feel like most of the all of these other books in that universe have been really, really good. I don't think I've given any of them 5 stars except for the one. The one was just so, it was the first one I read, and it was just so unique, and it impacted me so much that that one gets a 5 star. And I feel like all the other ones, the Marriage Act and this one, like I think they've all been like 4 star territory, simply because they're not as great as that initial, a reaction that I had with the one. But if you enjoyed the one, I do recommend John Mars and this book. John Mars has a very interesting narrative style. His chapters are very short. All of his chapters end on a cliffhanger. I know some people do not like that. I personally love the short chapters, and I do like the cliffhanger endings. I don't think they're gimmicky. I like them. It gets me excited for the next chapter. So if that's something that you like, I highly recommend John Mars and The Family Experiment. Again, I'll give you more of my complete thoughts in the live show that I'm having with Jackie. But yeah, I definitely, definitely recommend this. And now, guys, I'm ready to tell you about my favorite thing that I read this month, and I gave 5 stars to, only one 5 star read. And that basically was, oh, this has glare. That basically was the Haunted Mansion comic book, graphic novel, and I did read that on my iPad. I do want to show you a little bit of what that looks like. So, this is how beautiful the illustrations are. And yeah, this is a graphic novel, bind up pretty much. Although here I do have each of the issues, the 5 issues that encompass the entire graphic novel. We do subscribe to Marvel Unlimited in this household, so I do get access to all these comic books and stuff like that. So I do have it in the digital form. But let me tell you how awesome the Haunted Mansion graphic novel was. So first, I need to let you know that I am a huge fan of the Haunted Mansion ride. So before I even tell you about how awesome that graphic novel was, I do need to tell you, I grew up going to Disney 3 to 4 times a year. As a little girl, I went the first time when I was 3, and my parents and I would go there at least 3 to 4 times a year. We were always seasonal pass holders, and some of my fondest memories are at Magic Kingdom, at the Haunted Mansion ride. So It's something that I hold very close to my heart, that ride. And this graphic novel is exactly like the ride. It has direct lines of dialogue that you hear when you're on the ride. The wallpaper is like coloring the backgrounds of some of the pages, some of its iconic scenes, like the scene of like the dinner where all the ghosts are there. I mean, it's wonderful. Madame Leota's character is also like super important in the graphic novel as she is in the ride. So I already knew I was gonna love this. Like, I didn't even know it was a thing. I had told my husband, "Hey, can you find me something on there, like a comic book series that's short enough that I can like kind of read?" I was in the mood to read a comic or two, and they were also reading some comics on there, so I wanted to read some of my own. And he starts looking, and he's like, "The Haunted Mansion," and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then it was only 5 issues, for the entire graphic novel set. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to read this. This is going to be great. And it was awesome. The story was great. It's about this grandfather and his little grandson, and they have a beautiful relationship. And then the grandfather passes away. And so he basically would always tell him about this haunted mansion that was like around their neighborhood. And he goes there to find his grandfather, to see if his grandfather is there or if he can find him. And yeah, the rest is, you'd have to read, but it's so much fun. The artwork is beautiful, and I really, really enjoyed it. And it was my favorite thing I read this month for 2 months in a row, July and August. My favorite books have either been a graphic novel or a manga. And I'm just here like, why is this happening? Like, why am I not, choosing as my favorite book of the month, like, a thriller or a horror book, or something with a little more substance, right? But I do love my graphic novels. I do love manga, so I'm happy that I've been at least been able to get a few 5-star things read in these last 2 months. So yeah, that was my favorite thing that I read this month, and I highly recommend it if you are a fan of the Haunted Mansion or spooky things or Disney or anything like that. And there you have it, guys. Those are all the things that I read in August. August was wild. I'm at least glad that I was able to read 6 things. I've already started on my September reads. As a matter of fact, yeah, I've finished. It's the third day of September, and I've already read one full novel and halfway through another novel and a quarter of a way through another novel. So I'm doing pretty good. However, I'm a little bit behind on my grading. So I do need to do a little bit of that. And this week also has like open house and a bunch of stuff. So we'll see. But I think I will be able to read more in September, and I'm just excited that the craziness of back to school has happened, and I'm ready to read a lot more things. And I will be filming very, very soon my September TBR video. And yeah, that pretty much is it for me in this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I appreciate you being here. Please like this video. Please comment in the comment section down below. Let me know, have you read any of these? Are you excited to read some of these? Did I persuade you or dissuade you from reading some of them? I would like to talk to you in the comments down below. And if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. Share my channel with anyone you think might be interested. I thank you so much and appreciate you being here. I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.